Hi, this is Karena, and today I'm going to be showing you how I sew up my hand-woven skirt. So I already wove the three sections of the skirt, all in different lengths and different patterns. So we'll need those three sections, some needle pins, a tape measure, and some wide elastic. So we'll start with the first section, and this section is the shortest one, and this will be the top section of your skirt around your waist. So this part will need the elastic for, and this section is a little bit wider than all the other sections. So we'll start by flipping the piece of fabric so the inside piece is facing up toward us right now. So what we're going to do is fold over the top section in a width as wide as your elastic. So here my width is going to be about 4 to 5 inches. You want it to have room for the elastic to slide through, so make sure it's a little bit wider than your elastic. And I'll just pin a straight edge of this folded over piece of fabric along the whole length of the fabric. So I'll just be measuring every once in a while to make sure my length is staying the same 4 to 5 inches. So once I have all of this pinned down, we can sew up this, so we'll make like a tunnel for the elastic to slide through. So I'm just sewing on a straight stitch here, taking out the pins as I'm going to keep that line straight. So once you get to the end, you can take out that last pin and finish off your stitching, and I would reverse stitch back and forth once to make sure that is secure. So now we have this tunnel, the perfect length for our elastic to slide through. So now we'll take the elastic and slide it straight through that hole we just made. So we'll have to measure out how much elastic we'll need. You don't want it to be too tight but not too loose. So we'll just put a safety pin through that top of the elastic, and that way we can slide it through this tunnel easier. So once we got it all the way slid through the tunnel, we can measure out that elastic. You should measure it out after you slide it through, because the fabric bunching up inside will also kind of vary how much elastic you'll need. So once we measure that, we can put a safety pin on that end where we'll want to cut the elastic, but we'll save that to the end because we don't want to lose the elastic inside the tunnel. So we'll just keep it long enough where we'll be able to find it later. So now it's time to add the second layer of the skirt. So we'll want to lay everything flat out again. So we'll have a nice flat edge. So this is the second one, and this is about 30 inches wider than the first one. So what we'll need to do here is first We want the inside pattern to be facing us. So a subtle difference here, but I know which one I want to be facing out. So I can just face that inside upwards, and we'll take 2 pins and first of all pin both ends together because we know the ends have to be the same length. So you want the outside of the fabric to be touching here. You don't want to lay it on top of one another. Yeah, so just make sure the right side of the fabric is touching each other here. And we can pin both ends because we know that will be the final length that we need. So we're matching the length of the bottom section to the top section. So now the way I filled in the fabric from the second section is I started in the middle of both and matched it up that way. So I'm measuring how long the second section of fabric is and finding the midpoint, about 41 inches here, and then measure, well, put a pin here to mark that spot first, and then we can do the same thing to the first layer. Find that midpoint, and then we can connect those two. So now I'm pretty much repeating that until we pin up the whole fabric. So find the middle point of half of the skirt now and just continue doing that. So once we have all of the fabric gathered up from the second section onto the first section, we can sew this up as well. So as you're going, you're just going to want to really make sure you're using up the amount of fabric you have on that top layer and not letting it get bunched up too much. You want to do little increments at a time. So I'm just going right up to where I have the pin pinned in and then taking that one out, and you'll kind of force through that little fold of fabric. So now I'm doing the same process again one more time for the final layer of the skirt. So once you have that last layer pinned, you can go ahead and start sewing that layer too. This is really pretty much the same thing again, so you just want to really be careful that you're sending through that top layer incrementally through the sewing machine and not waiting and doing one big lump at a time. So now we are to the end of that last layer, and make sure you reverse stitch back and forth one time and make sure that's tight and secure. So now we can start working on the elastic, the last step. So you can see that really pretty scrunched up layer connected to the nice smooth layer of the previous section. So once you cut your elastic, we can just sew that up nice and tight. I would do this back and forth a few times because you definitely don't want this to come undone. So a straight stitch here again. I'm just going to go back and forth, probably I think 4 times, just to make sure it's really tight and secure. This doesn't have to look pretty or anything because it's going to be covered up. So just work on getting it tight. So once you sew up that side with the elastic, you have this really pretty skirt. I love all the folds and how long it is, and it's so pretty. So thank you for watching, and see you later.